good morning. Once again, how are you feeling today? Good. Okay, so last week we skipped due to the taxi violence, but I'm glad that you're all safe. So we're going to continue with activity 17. We ended off at step 4, which was a group work, which is identifying healthy and unhealthy relationships. So remember, before this we were talking about what is healthy sexual relationships, what is not, what are the boundaries, what is consent, understanding what consent means, what are the boundaries around consent, and the rules and so forth, and then you and your choices, what those are about. So remember, we've now been building their self-esteem, building how they think, helping them to make positive choices in life, and now they need to get to a point where they can make positive sexual choices, learning what is right, what is wrong, when to say no, when they can say no, owners of their own body, and self-respect, main thing. Okay, so in this step 4, it will be 15 minutes. You will be identifying healthy and unhealthy relationships. And often we, as people in general, don't understand what is healthy and what is not healthy, because we are so used to things being a certain way. We're so used to people treating us a certain way. And that's just the norm in relationships, that we don't realize that certain things are actually unhealthy and we shouldn't allow it to happen. We need to learn to put our foot down. So remember, before I said, we teach people how to treat us. So by us creating boundaries and saying no, or if they want to manipulate us, or they want us to do certain things, and we then need to say no, that I'm not comfortable with that, I can't stand for that, that goes against my principles, I'm not happy with that, or that's fine, then you allow it. But if you are not happy, if it's not right, if it's unhealthy, you need to learn, no matter how you feel about the person, or how you want this relationship thing to happen, you need to say, this is not right. Because if you agree or allow them to treat you the way they shouldn't, the way you feel uncomfortable, then you are going to perpetuate the cycle. Then they're never going to stop. Then they're always going to treat you like that. And then it might be too late next time, because now you say, no, I don't like that. And they're like, but where's this coming from? You were fine with it before, and now suddenly you're not, which will then cause bigger problems. So up front, you need to put your foot down. You need to say, no matter how hard it might be, or how painful it might be because of your emotions or whatever, you need to teach people how to treat you. You need to teach them that this is okay and this is not okay. Because that's where your self-respect and self-worth comes from. And if you don't have respect for yourself, they are not going to have that same respect for you. So you need to show them and teach them what your boundaries are, even though there might be a risk of them walking away. Because if they don't learn those boundaries, the relationship itself is not going to be healthy. Because then you're just going to continue doing things you are not comfortable with, and it's just going to escalate and get worse. So you need to take ownership, step up and do the right thing for you, for your emotional and mental and physical well-being. Because remember, it's all inclusive. It's mental, it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual. So you are the one that is the gatekeeper of those things, and you need to help them, the children, understand they are their own gatekeepers. They mustn't allow people to intimidate or bully them into being or doing something. They need to learn right from wrong, where to set their personal emotional boundaries. But if you as the facilitator is not doing it, then how are you going to teach them? You know, the work starts with you. Just like some of these things for me, it was a hard truth. It was like, wow, I am guilty of a lot of this and I don't like it, it's uncomfortable, but how can I be telling other people what they need to do and where they need to draw the line? I'm not willing to look at myself and try and do it as well. So you also need to do introspection and retrospection and self-inspection to see what are your boundaries, what are you comfortable with in yourself, what are you allowing people to do to you. And it's never too late to go, it's never too late to change. But like you tell them, it starts with you, it also starts with you. So you need to also look in looking at yourself and how you feel about things and how you want your life to go. Because remember, your choice is your choice. But what you don't know, you don't know. So now that you know something, are you going to do better? Or are you not? Or you're just going to continue? It's up to you, and it will determine your personal growth. I can't say that's wrong, or you shouldn't do that, because it's your personal choice. But you need to at least ask the questions, because you can't be asking them to ask the questions of themselves or to look in a certain way if you haven't done it, irrespective of what you choose, because your choice is still yours. Because you need to make them understand their choice is still theirs, but they need to come to the point where they actually think about it and make the choice, just like we have to. And this is called growth. Okay? So now you're going to hand them strips of paper, and with various statements on it, from healthy to unhealthy and abusive relationship thingies like slogans or something written on these strips of paper, and then you're going to hand it out to the group participants. And then make sure that each group has statements that cover all the different types: the healthy relationships, the unhealthy relationships, and the abusive relationships. Because they need to also understand there's a difference between unhealthy and abusive. Then you must ask the participants to divide the slips of paper into piles: healthy one side, abusive one side, unhealthy one side. Then you must have a group discussion about the different types, because they need to then also try and see what do they identify as healthy, what do they identify as abusive, because sometimes they don't even know. And sometimes by speaking about it with each other, they learn from each other what it actually is. So then the participants can then complete the table in their workbooks, and then they need to make a table of what is healthy and what is unhealthy and what is abusive. Okay, so what are healthy relationships? They are talking about your feelings. Lots of people are too afraid to talk about their feelings. Sometimes they feel it leaves them exposed, or they feel vulnerable, or whatever, but it is important and healthy to express how you feel, and to actually identify how you feel and talk about how you feel, even though you feel unsure and vulnerable. It's important to do that. Then you need to respect, if you are your partner or your date, you need to respect their friends and the activities that they have with their friends. You'll find in lots of relationships, people are very possessive. Like, suddenly you're going out with this person and they don't want you to spend time with their friends anymore, or go out with their friends anymore. And so they want to rule, type of thing, what they do with their friends and so forth. But that's not really healthy. So they need to learn that they must respect whoever they are with, that person's friends and so forth. Because even if those friends are wrong for them, it's still that person's choice. You can't make the choice for them. You can tell them like those friends are not good for you, because of X, Y, and Z. But ultimately, you can't make the choice for them. They need to decide, they need to see, and they need to choose. Okay, so they also need to consider the other person's feelings and opinions. You also find that in some relationships, they rule and they like, you will just do what I say because I'm the man, or whatever, you know, and then you can't express your feelings, or you don't feel comfortable to say, but I'm not happy with that, or no, or whatever. And so they need to be considerate to how you feel. So if they want to do something also, and you don't feel like doing it, they need to consider that you don't feel like doing it and take that into account as well. That is healthy. And opinions. It's okay to differ with your partner. If you don't share the same opinion, you mustn't be scared to say you don't share. Because part of growth in a relationship is being able to share and accept the next person's opinion, especially if it's not the same as yours. Okay, so you need to respect the differences in other people. Not everybody's the same. Lots of people think differently. So once you try and understand how that person thinks or is, then it helps the relationship as well. It helps you to understand how you must handle and treat them, because how you see something isn't the way they see something. And then you might just always clash because this person isn't understanding you, but are you trying to understand the person? That's another thing. So it's a two-way thing. You must try and be considerate and understanding, especially when they are different. Because when you grow up in different environments, it molds you differently. And people have different personalities and they think differently and so forth. And it's okay to be different. In fact, some of the best relationships come from complete opposites. So being different is okay. You need to be able to state your differences and opinions. Once again, don't be scared to say, I disagree or I don't think that way, because it's healthy to speak about what the differences are and find a common ground that works for both of you. Okay, so you need to have an equal say in the relationship, like I said. It's 50-50. So when you are busy speaking about your differences and considering the other person's feelings, you'll find that now you are creating an equal space for both of you at the same level. Not where the one dominates and the other one must just listen. But now you're at the same level. You each are saying how you feel, what you think. The other person is considering what you think. The other person is respecting what you think, and so forth. So the playing field becomes equal, and you now become equal partners, which is important. And then figuring out a solution that is good for both of you. So ultimately, as you are discussing things, as you are identifying the differences in each other, seeing what the other person likes, what the other person doesn't like, the important thing is being able to find a solution that works for both of you. And this is what makes a successful relationship. It's being able to find that common ground. Because nobody's going to be exactly like you and think exactly like you. So you're going to have to, as painful as these steps are, it's important because you want to get here. You want to get to this common ground, because this is where you learn to respect and love each other. And that is what creates and builds a healthy relationship. Okay, so unhealthy relationships are believing one partner is more right than the other. And often as women, they always tend to think the guy is more right than they do in a relationship, but that's actually not healthy. Shouting or yelling when you are angry at your partner, this is common practice for most people because of how they grow up. It's second nature to raise your voice, to shout if you are angry about the situation and fight and whatever, but actually it's not so healthy, because you need to learn to respect each other, but you also need to learn self-control. Because if you can't control yourself, then you are dangerous. Then you are not a well-rounded person. Self-control plays a big role in self-development. So if you can't control yourself from getting loud and aggressive and angry, then that's not healthy. Because when you get to that angry state, you don't also know what you could then do. You might end up hitting the person or whatever. And that is not healthy. But the main point is that you shouldn't be raising your voice and screaming and shouting, because where's the respect? Where is the finding the common middle ground? Where you need to learn what will work for both parties. That is a healthy argument. Not shouting, but expressing each other's views and finding the common ground. But shouting actually, and I know it's difficult to get your head around because it's common practice. You do that even to children. You shout at them because they don't listen. But in your relationship, is it healthy? Okay, with the child it's different because they must also learn respect, responsibilities and all those things. And the Bible says train a child up in the way they should go. But when you're having a relationship with somebody, you need to learn to respect each other. I remember I was speaking to someone long ago about the relationship problem that I was having. And I'm now, explaining the situation and what happened. And I said this and they said that and blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, but you don't even respect each other. I mean, look how you're talking to each other. Listen to what you are saying. Like, how is this healthy or good for you if this is a norm of how you talk and how you express yourselves and for me, I didn't realize that it was an issue for me. It was like, that's just normal when you're angry or you're having an issue, then you must now verbalize and you're loud but actually it's not, because respect is actually a very, very big key ingredient to a relationship. Self-respect and respect for the next person. And if you can't respect yourself by making good choices, by controlling yourself, then you're not going to respect the next person and trying to be understanding of what they are saying. So there's a lot that introspection, self-development that needs to happen. So to get to a healthy relationship, you first need to be a healthy person and have healthy thoughts and have healthy behavioral patterns, which is hard. It's very hard. So that's why as facilitators, this is for you as much as it is for the children. Because if you can't be a healthy person, helping to guide them and build them, then what is the point? Okay. So, using the silent treatment, some people think, yes, shouting is not good, so I'll just ignore you. But that's just as terrible and bad as shouting. Because you are also then disrespecting that person by not acknowledging them or what they are saying. And then you are sort of manipulating them because now you're just keeping silent. Now you just refuse to talk or say anything. But that's also not right. Because it's a two-way thing. How do you get to that common ground if you are manipulating that person by not talking? Now they will either get upset or mad or whatever, or give in to what you want because you can't not be talking. You must discuss the issue or resolve it or something. So for women especially, but men also do this, the silent treatment is a form of manipulation, and it's not good. Because you don't want to manipulate somebody because that's not healthy. Because then you're playing games and you're being deceitful. And once again, it now speaks to your character. Okay, so pestering your partner or date until you get what you want. Children use this a lot. When they want something and they're like, please, 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 or they hold duck and they keep on and they're like, I want this, I want this, I want. And girls also, women also do that to their partner. Please can we go here? Please can we do it? Please. And that's also a form of manipulation. Holding the keeping on nagging. You know? The Bible also speaks about you mustn't be nagging or quarrelsome. And it's better to sleep on the other side of the roof than live in a house with a nagging wife or whatever. So it's not it's not healthy, it's not good. And unfortunately these are things that we do every day that we don't realize we do, and that actually is not healthy and good. Pouting or sulking until you get what you want. Lots of women do this. They can't get their way, then they sumana wrap themselves up and they pick and they're upset and they're like, oh, but you know, I'm not going to talk to you or smile or whatever until I get what I want. And then the guy just gives in because peace, or he wants to make you happy. Or that's also not healthy because that is manipulation. And what does that say about you then, as a person? That you are manipulating your partner for selfish gain and selfish reasons, which means you are very selfish. And you don't really care about the next person. Because if you did care about them, you would want to hear what they have to say and come to a common ground. Just like you want them to hear what you have to say, you need to afford them the same courtesy of expressing what they want and then come to a common ground. It's very difficult. It is extremely difficult to just do those few things because we grew up in this way that these are natural ways of handling situations, and this is naturally how we are. But it's not good. And the younger they are, for them to learn that these traits are not good, the better adults they can become. So it is important to train the youth along healthy, positive relationship traits. And then it obviously will also help us because it will make us better people, make us healthier people. Okay, so what is abusive relationships? Dominating or controlling your partner's other relationships, friends and activities. This does happen a lot where you know with a new partner and they're like, oh, you can't speak to your friends anymore, or your ex-boyfriends, or you can't do this, or you can't go here, or you can't do that, and or you can't even see your family because they don't like them, and so on. And you like to keep the peace, you're like, okay, or you think you're respecting them by allowing their wishes to happen, but that's they're not respecting you. And it actually is abuse because that is controlling and manipulating, and it's actually narcissistic, which is very not healthy because you need to have the right to decide who you want in your life and who you don't want. If you out of your own decide, okay, you're not going to spend so much time with this group of friends because they don't really influence you in a good way when dealing with your partner, because their mindset is niche and and stuff like that. If you can identify that those people and their mindset is not good for you for a healthy relationship, then you stay away and you make the choice not to be with them or see them. But it's wrong for that person to tell you you can't. That is abusive. Okay, name calling, dissing, put downs. This happens a lot, especially when guys can't get their way. Then they start body shaming you, calling you names. Women do this as well. They say just that's sweetie and you know all these things. That's also a form of manipulation to make them feel so belittled and small that they will just do what you want, so that they don't seem so pathetic. But it's wrong. Threatening to harm them, that's also never good, as we know. Because harming a person is bad. Threatening to harm is just as bad. Because the intent is still there. intimidating by hitting or destroying property. Lots of people think they don't touch the person, they need to get the anger out, so they hit or they throw things on the floor and they hit the wall and they do this and that and that. That is also not healthy because they can't compose and control their own anger issues. What is stopping them from hitting you next time? You know, it's not healthy. It is abusive. And it is intimidating because it will make you feel scared because you could be next time. When the man take a pail and he cut the chair in half, your head could be, you know. So don't think it's okay just because they hit inanimate objects. There must be no physical nothing at all. Those are signs and characteristics of a bad person. Being extremely jealous and possessive of your date or partner. Some women think it's really nice if the guy is possessive or jealous because then he really cares about me. And a little jealousy or possessiveness is healthy, but just a little. It must never be overly. It must never be where you act out on it and say, or treat that person terribly because why are you looking at my girlfriend? And don't look at her or beat you up or whatever the case was. That's not healthy because once again you need to learn self-control and you need to learn to respect somebody. Your partner can't help if that person likes them. If they did something about it, that would be another thing, but then you guys need to address that. But if that person likes your partner and you're in the same environment, you can't with enough threaten to hit or because there's nothing your partner can do about it, and that's that person's choice. If that person oversteps the line and does something about it, then you can go and speak to the person. But you can't be overly, I'm gonna you and and you know that's not good. Pushing, hitting, restraining, or holding your dated partner against his or her will. Some people actually lock their partner up. They push them around, they hit them, you know, to show I'm in charge, don't you dare, or I'll do this or I'll do that, or you can't go anywhere, you know, you have to stay here, and that's also not healthy, it's actually abusive. So you, as the facilitator, can then add more as the conversation goes, or as you think, or as you've experienced, you can add more. But it's up to you. But these are just the basic guidelines. Okay, so you need to tell them about what they need to do if they've been sexually assaulted. So you need to explain the PEP system, which is post-exposure prophylaxis. And this must start within 72 hours. It's available, it's like this little rape kit basically. And it's available at hospitals, clinics, and some doctors also have it. But you need to help them understand that they need to go and do that because it's like a whole kit thing that they need to now. And also it's a warning article and the antiviral in case for AIDS and whatever, so to prevent whatever from the assault or the rape, so you have to explain to them this is very important. Okay? Sexual assault is wrong. Only the person who commits it is responsible. This is very important because often in society, especially women, when they've been assaulted, they think it's their fault. Maybe they did flirt. Maybe they didn't say no in the beginning. Maybe they allowed it to go to a certain point. But once you say no and you don't feel comfortable and you don't want it to continue and that person continues, then that person is in the wrong. Then it is assault. And it's wrong. No does really mean no. So they need to keep safe with a buddy system, which is where you ask your friend to watch you if you feel unsafe. You need to watch the signs. Alcohol is a main gateway drug that is used on women, especially for date rape and so forth. And there's also things like retinol, that when they add roofies and all these things to your drinks. And so you always need to be aware and watchful of your surroundings, what people are doing to and with you. Very important. Everyone has the right to control what happens to their bodies. They need to understand this. Your body doesn't belong to somebody else. It belongs to you. Sometimes when you're in relationships, you feel, okay, now your body belongs to your partner, and they feel it's a sense of power, you feel it's a sense of love, but actually no, your body belongs to you. What you want to do with it is your consent. What you don't want to do with it is no. And when anybody goes against that, it's wrong. It's rape or assault or abuse. And you have to make them understand that. Okay, show them the national helpline and list the people of the contacts that they should contact should they rape or assault occur. So remember at the beginning we said whenever you start any session, you need to make sure that you have your list of people in the area that you can contact, police, social workers, doctors and so forth, should anything happen. So you need to also give this list to them. Preferably always have it up in the place where you're having your workshop. Always mention it before when you're starting, when you're laying the rules and so forth. Help them to understand that should any of these things happen, there's help. Okay, there's the national hotline, there's a care worker, there's a social worker, there's police, there's the hospital, there's a whole host of people, including yourself if you want to, that can help them. But there is help and they need to take and make use of this help, especially this PEG thing. Sometimes they feel so emotionally scarred and like maybe they feel to blame and whatever, that they don't want to go there. They feel ashamed. And if they go, then that means it actually happened or like you agreed to it or whatever the case may be. So, or they feel people will look at them like differently or like it was their fault or whatever. So in that space, there's a lot of emotion going on, and you need to understand that and try and help them see that they need to get help, that it's important to get help. Okay, so step 5, now you're going to group work. This will be 10 minutes. They need to think about what they should say in the following situation. So if the guy says, baby, if you don't have sex with me, I'll go crazy. Or let's have sex. It is a good form of exercise and it's good for our development. If you want to be with me, you have to get in line. I have lots who give me what I want and need. So just these 3 things alone, as it's being said, you know that most people use these lines. Especially the younger, like if it's an older person and they want sex with a younger person, they will use these things, they will manipulate, like especially this one, if you don't get in line, I can get it from somebody else or whatever. You know, this is a big manipulation tool where they make you feel like, if I don't, then I'm going to lose him and I don't want to lose him and, let me now just give in because I want him so much. But they need to learn self-respect and know if they're not comfortable, if they're not happy with it. And this guilt trip of I'll go crazy if you don't, try not to fall for it. Yes, sometimes your emotions feel like, it's so romantic, he's going to lose himself if he doesn't have me, and that's just so wonderful, he loves me so much. But no, if he really loved you, he would respect you and respect your feelings and your wishes and what you and your sexual choices that you want. Okay, if you want to be loved, you must have sex. This is a main one that most people actually use and some women actually believe it. So you need to allow the responses from the participants, to go back and forth. They need to then say what they think about these statements, how it makes them feel, because a lot of them have probably experienced it, believe it or not. Some of them think, yes, it must be this way because that's all they know, that's what they've grown up hearing, that's what they believe must happen. So you let them speak, because this is now the group discussion, and they must say what they think about these things. Okay? And then you need to help them to understand that these things are manipulation. You need to say, have they heard any similar requests in which someone tried to manipulate them into having sex by claiming that sex was a need? And this is a big thing because lots of people use it as, I need you, I'm going to die without you, please. Can I have, you know? And lots of people fall for this. And it's human nature because everybody wants to be wanted. Everybody wants to feel needed. You want to feel that someone wants you and needs you, and if that's the way, then it's okay. Because especially for women, they need that emotional affirmation that somebody's yearning for them. You know, and then they give in and so on. And then you need to close the session by saying, remember, nobody has the right to violate your sexual rights. So the important thing here is for them to understand what sexual rights mean, what is healthy, what is unhealthy, and what is abusive. And sexual rights means you have the right over your own body. Nobody must manipulate you by word or action or anything. You must say no, and you must choose what you want to do with your body. If you feel that you're going to say yes to this, that is up to you, because that is where you are drawing the line. But you need to also understand that it is a manipulation tactic. If you're okay with that, that's your choice. But you need to first see that it's not actually right. And most people don't know that it's actually not right. So you need to tell them it's not your fault if another person violates your sexual rights. They are wrong and they must stop. You have the right to say no. And if you do decide to have sex, discuss it. And discuss when you are ready and comfortable to engage in sex. And this is called sexual negotiation. So you need to try, and you're not saying sex is wrong. You are saying they must have healthy negotiations around sex. What you feel comfortable with, what is right for you and your body, based on the fact of what is abuse, what is manipulation. Now that you know these tactics that is normally used is actually wrong, you need to start standing up for yourself if you want to. But you need to at least be able to have the negotiation. So if they say, baby, you know, let's do it for exercise or whatever, it's your right to say, yes, you know, it's a form of exercise I actually want to have. So let's do it. There's a dialogue, which is sexual negotiation. So you need to decide, and you need to help them to understand they must decide what is right for them and what isn't, but based on what they now know is wrong and what is allowed. Okay, so then they need to have participation reflection, where they must make notes in their books, they must write down the ideas and feelings, because it can be empowering and help them to develop the skills of negotiating safer sexual relationships. They need to think about their own relationships and how you would describe what is healthy, what is unhealthy, and what is abusive. And then, if your relationship is unhealthy or abusive, what can you do to change this? And who can you contact? And then again, you must have all the names and numbers at all times. So in their workbook, they need to write down their thoughts on this whole thing, so that they can see, have they been or are they in a healthy or an abusive or an unhealthy relationship? How does it make them feel now? What are their thoughts now? Is it still the same? Are they okay with it? Are they not? Because it's still their choice. But they need to understand, they need to get to a negotiating situation where they talk about sex and what the choices are and what they want to allow and not allow and not be manipulated. Because yes, they might have sex. They might say, okay, let's do the sexual exercise for our benefit. You know, they might agree to that. But the point is to have the discussion, to have that negotiation first. So, yes, you're pointing out the wrongs to them, but you also need to make them see it's still their choice. You can't tell them what to choose. They need to decide. And that will build their sexual health and their sexual rights based on what they decide. Because, like I'm always saying, you don't know what you don't know until you hear what you didn't know. And now that you know, what are you going to do? You're going to do better? You're going to ignore it? Because then what does that say about you? If you just ignore something that could be of help to you. So it's all about character building once again. Building your self-esteem and building your sexual health. Because most of it actually is in your head. Yes, sex is physical and whatever, but everything leading up to, during, and after happens in your head. Especially for women. It's a very mental process. So they need to understand that they must make the right decisions and have the right mental process happening in their minds. Because yes, men are, they're not so much in the head, they're very physical, it's just all about, you know, doing the deed and whatever. But for women, it's very emotional. It's very in their minds. So they need to understand that these are things that they need to think about. And the guys as well. They can't just act on what they feel. They are not animals. Animals do that. Dogs rat. Because they can't control themselves, because it's animalistic nature. But we are humans, we have choice. And we need to learn that we mustn't just act on physical feeling or emotional feeling. We need to think things through, because our character is more important. Okay? That's it for today. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?